Welcome to the Loveland Report Lone Ranger Show. I am Cleve Loveland, Central Florida's best real estate planner, alongside Bruce Woodburn, the Lone Ranger. We're going to talk about what's going on with rates today. Where are the sales at? I want to dive into how sales are down nationwide. We're going to talk about the importance of headlines and stats. Are we in a buyer's market? And then contracts. When you sign a listing contract or a buyer broker contract or a property management contract, what to watch out for? And Bruce, what do you got today?
Well, I think that's a really good point, as if the market is off right now and sales are down, who benefits from that? I want to talk a little bit about how to take advantage of a down market, because a down market for one means an up market for another, meaning that there's advantages to be made. There's money to be made in the industry. And then I want to talk about, why are so many investors willing to jump in the market when home buyers that are buying for themselves or for a vacation home are still a little bit more reluctant? So what is stimulating the market for investors more so than owner occupied? And then I want to talk a little bit about what rates are doing. What could we expect this month? What's going on with Powell? Is Trump going to beat his butt? Or is he going to fire him? What's going on with that? And then I want to talk about DSCRs and bank statement loans for our self-employed people.
All right. But it's funny. You got to watch. I always talk about this. We appreciate you tuning in to get what's really going on in the trenches, despite our immense radio talent. You and I are doing mortgages and selling houses every day of the week.
Every day.
And we help everybody, but we do not get paid to do this show. And stats, you've got to watch stats. And when you see a headline, I got a headline here about how sales are down 2.7%. That's nationwide.
Okay.
And so you got to watch that. And then you got to see, I got one here that says mortgage rates plummeted from 6.84 to 6.79. That's not a plummet.
That is not a plummet.
That's a blip. That's a gnat, buzzing around your head. But be careful on that. But this is what, yours and my job. Every buyer's different. Every seller's different. They've got different requirements. They've got different goals. They've got different time frames. And that's what we do. We help decode that for them and work that into what really will work.
So if sales are down 2.7, do you have the stats on whether prices came down and what they came down?
On this one, home price growth is still there nationwide, but the home price growth, the appreciation, is still at a 2-year low. So they didn't give me the exact number here nationwide. I think it's up like 0.04%.
Yeah.
0.4%.
So even if it's flat right now, that less people jumped in the market. And this is what I've been telling people, all of our listeners on my show, on this show, on my podcasts. If you don't take advantage of this market right now, you are going to lose when rates drop. And you think that sounds like a sales pitch, but it's not a sales pitch. If you wait for rates to drop, then the market's going to stimulate. Everybody's going to be jumping in the market. And then we're going to see those doggone frenzies where, like, Cleve's going to go, hey, if you ain't putting 20% down on my listing, I got 5 offers coming in today, buddy.
Yep.
You better get right. And the first-time home buyer or the buyer that needs closing cost assistance,
well, you know what fixes that? When you call me and say, hey, this buyer's fast-tracked.
Oh, fast track.
Dig into that. Because even in this market where buyers aren't under that kind of multiple offer pressure, I still think you should be fast tracked.
Well, fast track is just the smartest thing you can do. And that's a trademark. It's a cross-country product. And fast track means that we underwrite your loan before you buy the property. So if we underwrite a loan before you go out and even shop, we position you to be as close as a cash buyer as possible, because the underwriter's already underwritten the loan. You've supplied all the conditions. The only thing that's remaining is the contract and the title work and the appraisal. That's all that's missing. The client is fully approved. So it allows me to guarantee as little as a 10-day closing. I mean, I can close in 10 days. We just have to put a rush on the appraisal and the home inspection. But that puts you in a cash buyer position. So if I called you and I said, hey, Cleve, I've got this client. He's only putting down 3.5%. It's an FHA loan. Okay. But I'll guarantee you that if I don't close in 21 days or less, I'll pay your seller up to $500 a day for every day they miss the closing. How much is your seller's payment on their house right now? Oh, it's $2,000 a month. Okay. So let's just say that's $150 a day. I'll pay your seller $150 a day for every day we miss the closing.
Yep.
Would you accept that as an offer?
I would.
In writing?
I would.
Well, because you've got security. What lender is Rocket going to do that?
No,
Is
I
Bank of
can't
America
get other
gonna do
lenders
that?
to even
Is
call
Wells
me.
Fargo going to
Yep.
do that? Is a
Yep.
broker going to do that? They don't do it because they're not confident. But if I've underwritten the loan, I have zero to lose. Now, obviously, if the client's house doesn't appraise, well, I'm not responsible for that. If the house doesn't have clear title, I'm not responsible for that.
Yep.
But those things don't happen very often.
I had one the other day. I called a lender that sent an offer, and they had their pre-qual letter with them. And I asked a couple more detailed questions, and they were like, I can't share that with you. That's confidential. I said, I'm just trying to see. I said, this is where we're at on the offer. Are they going to qualify for that? And they started quoting red tape and all kinds of bureaucratic stuff. I said, you need to have a conversation with the realtor then and decide what you're going to share with me, because you're going to cost this buyer. I actually did have multiple offers on this one. I said, you're going to cost this buyer the home. So, and when you know it, the other realtor never got back with me. We were in a multiple offer situation, and which tells me that lender didn't know what they were doing, or the other realtor didn't care, or it wasn't, they were at their other job and they didn't get it. That buyer did not get the home.
I think, and I'm going to just be honest with our listeners out there. I think for the most part that they are not good at picking a good real estate agent. They pick people they like, or go to Zillow. Worst thing, you imagine picking a Zillow realtor. A Zillow realtor is a realtor that doesn't have any business, so they have to buy it
Yep.
from Zillow
Yep.
and pay them 40 basis points on the 4%
Yep.
or 40% of their commission to get it. So they can't get business themselves.
Yep.
Don't go to that agent.
Nope, not worth it.
It's the same with lenders. These lenders are writing pre-approval letters before they ever know whether the client qualifies. They're not doing the legwork
Yep.
to make sure that they protect the
Now,
client.
of the loans you're doing right now, you said you're doing a lot of investment loans or doing DSCRs.
It's incredible how
the
many
investors know this is the bottom of the market. They know prices are going to rise at a faster clip than they are now. Right now, they're kind of blah. We got 1 or 2% appreciation, but that's not terrible. People aren't losing their shirts, but the investors know. They've seen these slowdowns. They've gone through them. I've been through 4 of these slowdowns.
Yep.
And they're always, what's funny is they're always different.
Well, the
but there's
investors
always a
right
bottom.
now are not quite as concerned about cash flow. They're looking at future value.
Mm-hmm.
So they're less concerned about cash flow. But the reason my DSCRs and bank statement programs are so popular is because I pitch. And when I say I pitch, I will prove to you that you are better off to get closing costs paid than reduction of price. And I'll show you dollar for dollar why it's better. But on a typical investment transaction, a Fannie Mae transaction, the seller can only pay 2%.
Yep.
That's all they can pay.
Yep.
2%. That's not much. But on my DSCR and bank statement program, they can pay up to 9%.
Oh, wow.
20% down, you can get 6% toward closing costs.
Wow.
Now, that's how I get an investor in. And you can, with these programs, with a small prepayment penalty, I can keep your interest rate so it's at pretty close to what a conventional interest rate would be for a non-owner occupied property.
You've got some great rates on that.
That is a win.
All right.
407-250-9144. That's the Loan Arranger's number, 407-250-9144, or WeBringYouHome.com. Get your application started now. Cleve, what's your number?
407-352-8118 for Loveland Properties. If you need to sell something, buy something, or you need me to manage your investment property, you're tired of tenants not paying the rent or calling you when something breaks, we will take that over.
Yep. All right. So what else you got? You got any fancy emails, these crazy emails of things that people send you that you look at?
I think the biggest thing I've gotten lately is about the buyer broker agreements. And you've had a couple people like this stuck in those contracts. And so I wanted to talk about contracts. Whenever you hire a realtor, and this is the problem with the family friend or your mother's sister's brother's cousin. And when you do this, you got to make sure, okay, if I don't like you or you don't do your job, how do I get rid of you? And it shouldn't cost you.
And not have to pay you.
And that's where they get you. And even and it's funny, on the Easy Exit listing, they've got it hidden in the mice print about how I'll release you, but if you sell, you still owe me a commission, or you pay me $2,000 now, or pay me 1% of the property. I've never done that in my lifetime to a seller, and I never will. I bank on the fact they're going to love working with me. I've never had anybody fire me for being a knucklehead. I've had people say, hey, we're going to wait, or we might rent it. Now's not the right time. And I'm like, sure. But I spend all the money up front for marketing. I just had a seller trying to cancel their contract. The realtor sent them an itemized bill like it was from a lawyer for miles to the property, advertising and photos, and the sign out front and the courier that hung the lockbox on the property. It was like $857 just to
Yes.
part ways with this person. And so be very careful on that. And the new buyer broker agreement that's almost a year old now this month, you got to hire your realtor and tell
Yes.
him you're going to sign that realtor up and pay him 3%. You've got to make sure on there's also a spot in there saying, don't ever pay money up front. Don't ever pay an
No.
upfront retainer. But also on that, this contract can be canceled with written notice and $0 penalty. You've got a couple clients. I just came across one like that. And we're actually timing the sale of their new home because we got to let the buyer broker agreement expire with this guy they worked on last year.
I've got a client now. They're dealing with that right now. They can't get rid
So
of this
ridiculous.
guy. They
And I
didn't
call it,
realize that they were stuck with him
and
till October.
it's hard to discern when you get a recommendation or somebody says they don't understand that you should be helping, a good realtor's helping 20, 30, 40 families a year. And that's a top 1% of the business, Bruce.
Yes.
And somebody like me is in the top 1/10 of 1%. But I call it short bus real estate, and it's out there. I just had somebody the other day telling a seller not to sell now because of hurricane season. Don't sell during hurricane season.
Lord.
Have you heard that one? Can you believe that one? I mean,
That's
hurricane
an
season,
idiot.
that's like 6 months long, isn't it?
That's
I don't even know.
idiot.
I'm like, there's home selling within, every couple weeks. I'm going to show you how many homes sell around you. We're going to talk about your activity and go over the market. So be very careful, or just save yourself some time. Call me, call Bruce, and we will get you taken care of.
Yep, we'll guide you in the right direction. You can reach Cleve at 407-352-8118 or Bruce Woodburn, the loan arranger, at 407-250-9144, or go to WeBringYouHome.com. We take applications in person, over the phone, over the interweb. Any way you want to do it, we can do it, but we love the personal touch. You want to shake my hand, you want to look me in the eye, you want to ask me questions, you want a personal appointment, yes, sir, we can do it. We can do it in person or on Zoom. Do it every day of the week. So you can reach the loan arranger and make sure you've always got the clear answers. I had a client that I do these employee benefit programs. So I go into companies and I help the employer help their employees become homeowners. Why do you think it's beneficial for a company to help their employee become homeowners?
You've given me these stats before. Homeowners, if your employees are homeowners, they're more likely to stay on the job longer. Their kids are more likely to go to college, stay out of drugs, do better in school.
Yep.
All those things, just
all those
stability.
Things. Yep. So it all relates to stability. And according to the Department of Labor and Statistics, if your employees are homeowners, they'll stay with you 4 times longer. That reduces recruiting costs, training costs, everything. So companies have me come in and do presentations, and then we give them a benefit program to utilize our services for real estate or mortgages. Well, I get a call from a client the other day that worked for a pharmaceutical company that I've done this for, called Olympia Pharmaceutical. Beautiful, locally owned company. They supply drugs to a lot of the hospitals. And so the guy says, well, Bruce, I've already been shopping you before he even called me. He says, I've already been shopping you and I've got 3 estimates. So I said, send the estimates over. And some of these were really low estimates. But it was odd. One of them was even from Zillow Mortgage. They've started their own mortgage company.
That always works out.
Now, it was an FHA loan
because their home flipping
forgot
business
to
is
put
so well.
mortgage insurance in there. Okay.
Yeah.
They forgot to put mortgage insurance in there. They were giving them a ridiculous quote that wasn't realistic. I said, you really need to find out how realistic this is.
Yeah.
And he called back. He goes, these people don't know what they're doing, Bruce. Yeah. So I ended up taking the loan. We're under contract.
That's funny to hear that, because remember, they had a home flipping business and that flopped and they got sued by all their shareholders because they couldn't even do that right. So because you've got these companies they're trying to buy up the leads, and they're trying to have an app that helps you with your money and your checking
Rocket's
account.
trying to do the same thing because they bought, what was it, Compass, and
they got an app for your money. They bought the front part of the process. They bought Redfin. They're trying to control the whole process from end to end. And I don't want a chat bot giving me advice on my portfolio and my personal situation on my money. Or
I don't want
on
one
my real
company
estate
having that much control over the market. I think that it's ridiculous. And if you think it benefits you, you're wrong.
Well, the problem is funny. They fight so hard and spend so many marketing dollars.
We got to end. We'll be back in 5 minutes.